I once had a boyfriend who took me to Dubai to meet his family. While his family was not millionaires like what people usually think of Dubai, they had a comfortable life, owning at least three different businesses, one of them in New York. The family home was beautiful, with an entrance courtyard, nice trees and flowers cared for by the mother. The interior was decorated with many giant paintings, ornaments, and glass dolls. I was afraid of breaking something because of how organized everything was. While my boyfriend went to pick up his parents, I was left alone there near the dining area. However, as I glanced around, I noticed someone talking at the dining room table, and on closer inspection, I saw that it was a man with abundant white hair. His eyes were wide open, and he was looking straight ahead. I didn't interrupt him because I didn't want to sound rude, and that's when my boyfriend came back. He introduced me to his parents, who were very nice to me actually. They complimented my appearance, asked about myself, and gave me a few bottles of perfume that I still have in my closet. We were only staying for a week, but I felt I would do well there from the get-go. After chatting for a while, we went to the dining room, where the maid was already serving lunch. Then I took a closer look at the man at the table, still in the same position, mumbling something in another language. What happened was strange, as no one introduced me to him. In fact, no one seemed to notice the man at the table. When I asked my boyfriend who the man was, he answered in my ear, "It's Grandpa, now let's eat," and there was no further explanation. I didn't insist again so as not to be rude, but I was left in doubt all afternoon and didn't really enjoy the lunch because of the old man's presence at the table being treated like another piece of furniture. During the evening, I asked my boyfriend what was going on with his grandfather. He said he doesn't like to talk about it. Actually, no one in the family wanted to talk about it. They just ignored him to avoid interfering with his religion. Apparently, he didn't practice the same religion as the rest of the family, and I didn't know if there was a religion that consisted of standing still like that. My shyness prevented me from asking any more questions, so I decided to ignore the matter and continue with the trip. The rest of the week was fun. We went out, I ate delicious food, saw unusual things around the place, like people walking exotic animals in parking lots, and even had a romantic evening in one of the tallest buildings there. However, I felt a little bad when we returned to the house as the man was still standing at the same exact spot in the dining room. On one occasion, I asked my boyfriend if we could eat in the bedroom, as it made me extremely uncomfortable to be next to his grandpa. He said that sooner or later I would get used to it. It was hard for him when he was little, but he told me that he and his cousins always played that grandpa was a jinn, which is the same as what we know as demons in Islamic culture. His parents would tell him that grandpa prayed a series of strange prayers, like curses, without really understanding the meaning of it. He was only served some yogurt day and night. That was all he ate when no one else was in the room. He didn't tell me about his sanitary habits or how he slept, only mentioning that if it bothered me so much, I might as well change seats at mealtimes. And so it was, but only 2 days left before departure. I sat in the corner far from Grandpa, who was still on his holy mission. I don't remember what we were talking about at dinner that night. I think it was about condos or something like that. I don't know because of what happened afterwards. We were just finishing when my boyfriend's grandpa stopped mumbling his prayers. I may have been the only one to notice this, as the others were still carrying on with the conversation, but no one did anything when the old man stood up, raised one of his arms, and pointed at me with one of his long-nailed fingers, opening his mouth and producing an insanely weird sound that froze the room. The next thing that happened occurred very quickly. My boyfriend grabbed my shoulders and told me we had to leave without even finishing the food. My boyfriend's parents stayed to contain the man, but he just pointed at me with his horrible sound. At one point I turned my gaze and noticed how the man seemed to leave his usual seat to follow me. My heart stopped for a second and I felt like throwing up everything I had just eaten. I wanted to go home as soon as possible, and my boyfriend and I argued that night, with me crying because I didn't understand what had happened. My boyfriend told me he would talk to his parents about it, leaving me alone in the room. I asked him not to, but he said it would only take a moment. The atmosphere was cold. I heard some yelling and screaming in the living room, and we had to leave the next day. No further explanation was given to me, which was one of the many reasons my boyfriend and I broke up months later. This happened many years ago, and I decided to research about the topic, but nothing on the internet gave me any result for that kind of behavior. I don't know if I will ever go to Dubai again, but if I do, I think I know which place not to visit.